Hello and very warm welcome to the Arise interview, 60 minutes of big questions about the big stories from the news and beyond with fresh insights and critical analysis. I am Christian Ogdo. Thanks for joining us. We're live in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Coming up in the next hour, the 2020 flood alert released some time ago by the Nigerian Hydrological Survey Agency is not far from what is being seen in most parts of the country. Heavy downpour, overflowing rivers, broken dams, and improper waste disposal have been attributed as some of the causes of flooding. The Nigerian Meteorological Services issued a similar alert about flooding, which is like an annual ritual in Nigeria. But beyond such predictions, more steps to mitigate the negative impacts of floods can hardly be seen or felt by Nigerians. They are left to their own fate as heavy downpours submerge their houses, making them vulnerable. Today, we'll discuss the flood disaster in Nigeria and water management. Coming up in a moment. Flooding occurs in Nigeria annually with devastating impacts on the poor and vulnerable populations who live along the riverbanks. It impacts on various sectors like agriculture, water resources, health, transport, infrastructure, and the entire livelihood of people living in the affected communities. Also, flood control and water management system seem to be an increasing issue as there is a global increase in the sea level, not leaving out improper waste disposal causing distress for the free flow of water, especially during the rains. And for more on this, I'm now being joined by Engineer Clement Nze, who is the Director General of the Nigerian Hydrological Services Survey Agency, NIHSA. And from our offsite studios, I'm joined by Dr. Nicholas Igwe, is a National Coordinator of Organized Private Sector in Water, Sanitation and Hygiene, and he's also the Managing Director, Zenith Water Project. Gentlemen, very warm welcome to the Arise interview.
Thank you so much. I'd love to have you here.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Let's start with you, Engineer Nze. The Nigerian Hydrological Survey Agency, your agency has predicted more rains in Nigeria. But to a lot of people, it doesn't look as if Nigerians and indeed the nation have made adequate preparations, to avoid the kind of destructions the rains leave in its wake. Have we made adequate preparations?
In fact, it doesn't look like we have made. Like in your intro, the Nigeria Meteorological Agency on the 24th of January this year went on air, went public to alert the nation as to the onset and cessation dates of rainfall in each local government in Nigeria, the duration, the amount of rainfall expected. Then my own agency, the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, went further to do the prediction for flooding. This was made public by the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu. And in the prediction that was made public, the locations in Nigeria, the local government areas in Nigeria that are likely to be affected by flooding this year were itemized. Stakeholders were notified as to what they must do to avert the devastation that might come with the flooding. But from what we are witnessing early in the day is a sign that not much has been done in terms of preparing for the D-Day. For instance, all the governors were notified properly as to each local government area in their own states. These are things that will happen.
It's a perennial, occurrence. Yes. and it's the same destructive elements, trails that, you know, the country witnesses every year in, year out. Take, for example, last year, flood is said to have ravaged 124 local government areas across 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. It affected 210,117 people with 171 casualties. 130,600 people reportedly displaced. What level of destructive tendencies then do you envisage this year? And secondly, why at governments at various levels, federal, state, local government, not putting measures? Some of these measures are simple enough, you know, to contain the destructive tendencies of the flood.
It's like I earlier mentioned that it is too early in the day. In Nigeria, we belong to what we call Niger Basin, a basin made up of 9 countries. The 9 countries are Niger, first of all, Guinea, from where the Niger starts from, then to Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, the major rivers, and the Côte d'Ivoire, the major rivers flow into the River Niger. They are part of the basin, and then Benin Republic. And on the river Benue, as you have Cameroon and Chad.
Particularly the Lagdo Dam, which
we're going
to talk about.
All this is come down to, if there's a flood in Niger, and there's no flood in Nigeria, Nigeria would be affected by flood because of Niger. Now, the peak of flooding in the country is usually the months of July, August, and September. Then if in June, as early as June, we have witnessed so much devastation in Lagos, in Ogun State, Abeokuta in particular, and even in Abuja. So we were asking, are we expecting something more? For us as hydrologists, as an agency that deals with all the surface water in Nigeria, we have that feeling that more flooding is yet to arrive from within Nigeria. Not yet talking about any form of transboundary rivers coming into Nigeria. So far, what is happening in Nigeria is the local rainfall within Nigeria. No input from outside. Now, when you look at the level of destructions, one is led to wonder that not much is being done by relevant agencies or governments, especially, I will always talk about the state governments. They control these territories. It is their duty, and they have all kinds of machineries. You have the State Emergency Management Agency. You have development, urban and regional planning. You have the Minister of Environment, and also Minister of Water Resources in each of the states. Talkers of a myriad of advisors here and there on relevant issues. What are they doing? They are supposed to run with those predictions once they are made known to them. They have to go to work with them, but at the end of the day, nothing seems to have been done. Ours, the agencies I mentioned, my own agency, Nigeria Hydrological Survey Agency, NIHSA, and that of NIMET. Ours is prediction. We are the upstream sector of disaster, water-related disaster or flood-related disaster. We are the upstream. We see it ahead of time. We make it public. It is left for the people, especially the state government and local, to work on that. But
wouldn't NIHSA be... NIHSA is responsible for surface water in Nigeria. NIHSA, through the Ministry of Water Resources, control most of the dams. So why, as the off-taker, why are you not taking so much of this flood water which can help in socio-economic activities, particularly in agriculture, in the agricultural sector?
Okay, let me correct it there.
Okay.
NIHSA, yes, an office of Minister of Water Resources. We were a department there some years back.
Mm-hmm.
We are in charge of carrying out studies on the surface and groundwater resources of Nigeria. We amass a lot of data with regard to the surface water and the groundwater. So this is within the purview of NIHSA. If you are doing any work that has to do with the surface water. Maybe you are building dam irrigation facilities, even data for your highway designs and so on and so on. NIHSA is the port of call. Hydropower data you need to
give an EIA.
Yes, we give you the information whether it is viable to build a dam here or not. But in terms of management of dams, the dams are being managed by the River Basin
Development Authorities.
Yes,
okay.
Which is under the Department of Water Resources.
Okay.
So ours is to liaise with them, inform them of the inflow. Like we can always call Kainji Dam, for instance, although it is under a private person, mainstream energy resources for hydropower, but that of transmission is still under the federal government. We notify the management of Kainji and Jeba dams as to what to expect that is coming into their dam, to know what to do in terms of releases, to avoid doing panic release. By and large, the day-to-day management of the dams is not within the purview of NIHSA.
So yours is basically advisory.
Advisory.
Like,
yes.
okay, let me quickly ask you this before we go on our first break. The Lagdo Dam in Cameroon is one major source of worry to Nigerian communities that live from the Mambila, Taraba, Adama to the Benue troughs, down to the River Niger, and of course the coastal region yes. of Nigeria. Whenever that dam is filled up, they release the water, irrespective of, you know, the devastating effect it would have on Nigerian communities.
Yes.
How do you mitigate this? Is there a collaborative effort between your agency and, you know, the Cameroonian authorities?
Okay, back to history, or let's get a little bit back. Lagdo Dam in Cameroon was built between 1977 and 1982. And when they began to build it, they advised Nigeria to build their own dam, a buffer dam within the Nigerian portion of River Benue. Ours, we began to do the design, what we call a Hausa Dam. Cameroonian own is about 7.6 billion cubic meters of water. That's the storage capacity. Nigeria's own that was designed, Hausa Dam, somewhere in Fufure local government area in Adamawa, a place called Hausa. The dam is about 16 billion cubic meters, so that it can contain twice the size of Lagdo Dam if anything happens. But ours remained on the drawing board up to today. And you know what the economy is to talk about embarking upon such a dam. Now, it could have been built 1980 something. Cameroon finished their own 1982.
But that would have helped Nigeria's
yes,
hydropower development.
Quite a lot. So there is a bilateral relation between Nigeria and Cameroon with regard to the resources of the Lagdo Dam, or let me call it Benue Sub-Basin.
Okay.
There are two structures in Cameroon that can negatively affect Nigeria, and have actually done so. One is the Lake Nyos in Cameroon, which is spilled its poisonous content
into
in
Nigeria.
August 1986.
Yeah.
So many animals died and poisoned here and there. But we have built a dam, Kasimbila Dam.
Can I just put you on pause there, because we want to take some commercial messages, but we'll come back to that again so that you talk more about the in your dam, Lagdo Dam and the rest. Yeah. Dr. Nicholas, I'll be with you in a moment. I just want Engineer Nze to conclude his thoughts on Lake Nyos and its attributes and how Nigeria can mitigate whatever eruption like we saw in 1986 when we saw that massive eruptions and how it affected the ecological balance in Nigeria. You want to continue on that?
Thank you so much. Then, like I was saying earlier, the Lake Nyos in Cameroon, you know, is a poisonous lake, gaseous lake. The gas that are there very poisonous. What happened in 1986? Because of that, Nigeria built Kashimbila Dam in Kashimbila, Taraba State, such that in the event that the lake collapses eventually, that dam will trap whatever is coming from there. It has also some hydropower component. Now I'm back to our relationship with Cameroon with regard to Lagdo Dam in Cameroon. there is a bilateral relation between Nigeria and Cameroon with regard to the Benue Sub-Basin, to the point that the two countries signed an MOU. Paul Biya, His Excellency, was in Abuja in 2016 to meet with his counterpart, our President Muhammad Buhari, where they signed a memorandum of understanding with regard to Lake Nyos and Lagdo Dam, that in the event you must release water from Lagdo Dam, Nigeria has to be notified ahead of time. That was done after the incident of 2012, where they released water without informing Nigeria. We have been working on that. Unfortunately, in 2019, just last year, when the rains have already begun to cease completely in Nigeria, not a part of Nigeria, against the assurance they gave to us as an agency, Cameroon opened the dam on the 10th of October, and it kept spilling water up to October 31st, 21 days.
Destroying
eventually
the crops
downstream.
And,
Adamawa, Taraba, Benue, Kogi, and then Niger Delta. We are affected negatively in the month of November, contrary to the normal hydrological setting in Nigeria. So, but we are working, the minister has written through the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs how to interface with the counterpart in Cameroon as to why that thing was breached, that agreement of informing Nigeria ahead of time.
Okay, but no reply has been gotten from there.
It's at that level.
Oh, okay, it's at that level. That's great. Okay, let's cross over to our offsite studio now and join Dr. Nicholas Igwe. Dr. Nicholas, when you look at the enormous water resources Nigeria, has, whether the surface or underground water or the perennial rainfall and what have you, it won't be amazing to you or amusing at all that we're not managing the water resources very well. What are the challenges in managing water resources in Nigeria?
I think, thank you, so much. I think one of the biggest, challenges is actually having strategies in place, just like what we're talking about, today in the area of flooding. Why do we not look at the agent of flooding? What are the things that can cause, the flooding? Why are we not looking at the control and management of such, flooding? And why are we not looking at the impacts that it will have if not properly managed, as well as the benefits? So whether it's about water resource, management, or about flood, management, is all about looking at the socio-economic and health impacts, and even industrial, the industrial, benefits when it comes to managing of water resources in Nigeria. So I think the most important thing is that the government has to step up, because my friend and my colleague that mentioned something about the state, government and the rest. I don't think that enough awareness has been created in every single thing that has to do, with flooding, even to the states. I think we need more educational awareness. We need people to understand that these are the causes. We already know flood is natural, whether it will come naturally or unnaturally, whether they are climatic or unclimatic. The most important thing is they will always be there. But what are we doing to mitigate against them? Now, coming back to the issue of the challenges, I think the challenges is about policies not being properly implemented and not even having proper people in place that will be able to implement all those policies, or not being able to market those policies very well, and not being able to let people to understand the impacts of what they do. I think more has to be done from the side of the government in making sure that our water resource management is strategically harnessed.
Your organization controls or deals in water, sanitation, and the rest. And there's been a lot of hue and cry about the groundwater resources and its pollution. How can Nigeria mitigate against that? That is one leg of my question. And how does Nigeria, again, with the enormous water resources, lose billions of naira for the non-payment of water rates? We're not harnessing enough, we're not managing enough. Two things here.
Yeah, I think it has to also, again, if you look at what is happening in Lagos State now has what we call Lagos State, I think, Water Regulatory Commission. Now, we have abundance of water. You'll be surprised that many industries, many food and beverage industries, actually abstract water from underground aquifer and from surface water, and they hardly pay for anything, and of course they make money from their businesses. It's all about, again, what the Honorable Minister of Water Resources has been trying to do to make sure that the water bill is passed. Because without the water bill, yes, you can go and enforce, but it will be difficult to to take any legal actions without obviously those bills. So we have abundance of water resources, but they are not properly managed. Even the issue of drilling, borehole drilling, you see what is happening all over in the country. People drill indiscriminately because we don't have policies in place, we don't have water bill in place, and this is not obtainable in any part of the world. As a matter of fact, in some countries like South Africa, revenue, huge amount of revenue is generated from water. There is no way you will not pay for water because you know that you have access to water. Again, in Nigeria, I think the problem again that we have is most state governments are not seeing water as how do I put it, as a way to also generate revenue. They see it as a human right human right issue. But in some countries, people make sure that water is reticulated, and when people have access to water every day and you give them bill, they will be able to pay. Same applies to industries. If industries can be regulated to say so much amount of water, if you abstract, you'll be able to pay, they will pay. So we don't have policies in place. It's because everybody has turned their eyes into oil and gas without looking at revenue that can be generated from from water that we have in abundance. So I think it's time, I'm sure in a very short while, the water bill will be passed and some of these challenges will be over.
They really would be over. Some people will say, look, water is already privatized because a lot of Nigerians drill their own boreholes, buy their own water and the rest because of the either scarce or non-availability of public water supply and the rest. How about the infrastructural development, in the water industry? In 1 minute, please, if you can.
The water infrastructural development, yes, state government have tried. But it is time for them to also, when you say privatization of water, water is not yet fully privatized. If they can, for example, in Lagos State or in some states, they decide to say, okay, let us allow the private sector to operate and manage a particular water infrastructure, generating the revenue, even when the government can be a stakeholder or have equity in the business. I think some of these things will change. Now again, people do not obviously, the water bill, if the water bill is passed, some of these things will change.
Gentlemen, thanks for staying with us. And let me come to you now, Engineer Nze. How has unplanned engineering affected water resources in Nigeria? I talked about unplanned engineering, particularly where you have reclamations, as we see in the coastal area of Lagos, and the effects of perennial flooding in Lekki, Victoria Island, and other areas of Lagos.
Well, those of us as a civil engineer and who is also in the water sector, there are certain things that could look so attractive when done, but when you go into the engineering aspect of it, it may not be a mere as aesthetics, something that beautifies the eye. You will feel a part of a lagoon, an offshoot of an ocean. You will feel it. Maybe you do use piling foundation, maybe about 100 meters deep to stand their structure. You have already interfered with the natural system, ecosystem. Like in Lekki, last year, some areas have been reclaimed, structures were built. You now see people using boats
to access their homes.
Yes, boats. They didn't consider the whole gamut of issues.
Is it not a failure of urban planning.
That's what we are saying. Maybe the first point was that we want, especially the highbrow, who have the resources, they mainly go to those areas and then do reclamation and begin to build. You have interfaced with the coastal tides, the ocean tides.
Ecology, yes.
The ecology has been interfered with.
Yes, because I know the Lagos Lagoon very well. I know the Ikoyi Park, where bodies of water, the Lagos Lagoon, during the tidal period, it flows back and forth into the ocean and back, and that mitigated the issue of erosion or flooding.
Correct.
That is Lagos of old.
Yes, that is true. That's true. People, you can put a dredging machine in the ocean and then begin to pump sand and then get a certain height to build. It has a lot of challenges. Now, you talked about other quality of the water. Generally in Nigeria, we don't have that much problem, apart from the coastal areas in Nigeria.
Even with the issue of defecation in Nigeria?
That is a challenge. Yes, defecation, people, because of lack of infrastructure, they defecate. We're talking about that in somewhere today, where some people use bamboos and things like that, put their mat or whatever, and then they defecate, they drink water from there. This is a big challenge. A lot has to be done in terms of investments in the water sector to be able to get these people out of that level. If our drive to ensure that water hygiene and sanitation is achieved in Nigeria within record time, so there has to be massive investment in this sector. Now, for the coastal areas in the country, we have a project, an activity we do in our office about the saline water intrusion. We have to tell you the region within which you have to drill, whether in Lagos, Ondo, Rivers, Bayelsa, and all those coastal states. That if you go beyond this, you are tapping salt water, which will be detrimental to your health and also the structure we feel in terms of what is producing. But inland, especially within the basement complex in Nigeria, Nigeria is about 50-50, 50% basement complex, but that is rocky environment. And
that's
50%
up between 20 to 100 meters now if you have to dig because of the granite sedimentary.
Like in Abuja here. Yeah. So the sedimentary area, depending, you may need to do some treatment, but not all.
But basically, Nigeria falls within that sedimentary basin.
That's what I was saying. We have is within about 50-50.
Okay,
50% is sedimentary, 50% is a basement complex.
Okay.
So that's what we have in Nigeria.
Now, everything seems to boil down to the management of water. And like Dr. Nicholas is emphasizing on the water bill that is still stalled in the National Assembly because of certain complexities where the federal government wants to control, XYZ meters from the shoreline to, whatever the depth or width of the river is, and a lot of objections from stakeholders, from state governments, is not making that bill to come to fruition yet. But how can the private sector and the public sector combine to manage water resources in Nigeria?
In fact, that bill is set to settle a lot of things, conflicts or misunderstandings.
Is it very holistic?
Well, you cannot talk about something being holistic for that time you do a review. As we speak, the water resources in Nigeria, to manage it and whatever, is invested on the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, as it is today.
So it's tied to the efforts of government then?
No, the bill now we try to divest all these powers vested on the minister to the states. Some of them, depending on we talk about the distance from the rivers, the type of rivers. Some are now coming directly under the purview of the state governors. The bill is aimed at to do such a thing so that not the minister will be in total control of all the waters in Nigeria.
This will presuppose that like the what do you call the dam hydro
yes,
power industries, for example, or sector, would still be controlled by government. How then do you allow the private sector to come and play a critical role in here?
In the ministry, under the Ministry of Water Resources, we have a commission, Nigeria Integrated Water Resources Management Commission.
Yeah.
It's part of it has been passed into law, it has been operational. It's part of the bill. That is the regulatory arm of the Ministry of Water Resources. For some years now, that commission has been working. You see some private companies, multinationals, that have now delved into bottling of water. They have to be licensed before they could drill such boreholes for industrial use. There are quite a lot of them, some industries that have been abstracting water. And Nigeria has large bodies of water in our dams that are impounded, which could serve for hydropower and for irrigation. So many industries, so many investors have been coming, working with this commission to be licensed, to be able to abstract water, to do whatever they want to do. So the regulation is in place. As of today, as we talk, you go to the commission, they give you a license. I have witnessed a lot of them where the chief executive with the honorable minister issuing operating licenses to investors, whether private or public, that want to do
investment in water resources.
Water is a big business, yes.
It is
a very big business.
It is indeed a very big business, particularly when you're surrounded by the bodies of water that you cannot consume, that would need to be processed. But let me go to our offsite studio and let's join Dr. Nicholas. Doctor, I know you are the National Coordinator of Organized Private Sector in Water Sanitation and Hygiene here. Just like Engineer Nze has said, water is big business. Tell us what your association is doing to attract that big investment in that sector beyond just bottling water, but making homes in Nigeria, whether in rural communities or in the urban centers or metropolis, to have drinkable water.
Thank you so much, and I think I will elaborate a bit on this. Organized private sector in water, sanitation, and hygiene actually was inaugurated, last year by Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu. And sometime, I think on the 28th of May, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, also included Upswash among the 24-man committee that he inaugurated to look into the challenges of water and sanitation and hygiene, especially as it affects the open defecation, which my colleague just spoke a bit about. Now, what is the Upswash? It's an umbrella body that should be able to house all the private sector players. And what we mean by private sector players, if you look at even not only locally, internationally, the Mambila Dam that we've been talking about, Mambila Dam is attracting almost $5.8 billion investment. Almost 80%, or maybe 70% of that investment is coming from private investors. Now, the umbrella body has been categorized into 5. We have the financial institutions. We have United Capital PLC that is responsible for creating financial models whereby private sector will be able to engage appropriately. One of them is tax credit. Remember, the Executive Order 009 that was signed by President Muhammad Buhari a few years ago was basically for road infrastructure. So it means that you can actually invest in road infrastructure and have a tax credit at the end of the day. And that is obviously what Dangote, Alhaji Dangote is using to develop some road in Apapa and other areas. We are trying to introduce that same tax credit in water and sanitation, whereby, especially in Executive Order 009 that has been signed for water and sanitation, whereby investors can now come in, invest in water and sanitation, and have some tax credits. We believe that that is the only way we'll be able to massively develop the water sanitation infrastructure, which is at a very critical stage at the moment. The next category is innovation and technology category. We know that we want to build local capacity. We want people locally to be able to start looking into how they can get involved, what kind of technology and others. COVID-19 outbreak is very, very deadly, but it has created opportunities for many people. We have seen that many Nigerians are now seeing opportunities that they can actually design certain things, including ventilators, contactless hand washing facilities. People are doing several things that are all amazing. Then we now, and through that, we want to create jobs as well. We have the other category, which is industries, and that is very, very key. Before, the likes of the Guinness and Coca-Cola, Nigeria breweries, will always see water as maybe they will just do one or two corporate social responsibility project around water. We are saying to them, no, your business, your raw material is water. We want you to come on board and help and develop some of the water infrastructure. All these organizations, they are all our members at the moment. Then we have the Blue Bond Initiative, which obviously in the next couple of weeks will be unveiled, whereby people will understand that we can raise bonds on water-related and sanitation issues. Then we also have, where we have partnered with the likes of the Stephanie Linus Okereke, where we intend to have water, sanitation, hygiene TV shows. It means that on that television show, what you'll be seeing is like what we are seeing today. People coming on stage to talk about even the issue of flooding, the issue of how to control and manage floods, the issue of how to properly educate people around issues around flood management.
Let me return to you, Nicholas. You were talking about the benefits, that off-takers will be having from excessive flooding, but I want you to talk too about the various waterfalls that we have in Nigeria, like the Mambila Hydro Electric Power Station is coming from a waterfall. You have the Kogosi Warm and Cold Spring that has not been commercially driven or tourism-wise and for other water essentials. Quickly.
Yes, I think we are underutilizing our dam potentials. If you look at the Mambila Dam that you have mentioned, even from almost in the 70s and 80s, that issue has been ongoing. And that Mambila Dam can actually generate almost 5.0 gigawatts of electricity if completed. But it's still there. But it's only now that the president and the government has really realized the importance of private sector investment. As I mentioned, before, a Chinese, company, I think they are about, 2 or 3, have invested a lot of, money. And when that is, completed, I think we will have a massive, hydroelectric, power increase in the country. And other areas where you can have recreational activities, we are underutilizing them. And I think what the government will do is to strategize more and better, open more doors for private sector to participate. And I think that is what I can see that the president is doing at the moment in terms of creating very strong political will, creating an enabling environment for the private sector to participate, giving them that strength to say your investment will be protected. If you look at even the gas pipeline, the AKK gas pipeline, that was recently launched, about $2.8 billion dollars, where the president himself said he's clearly calling on private sector to invest. And I think what the government should be doing is to continue with this drive of opening their hands, their doors for private sector to come in. And that is when we can start getting the benefits of all these things. Just like what I've mentioned now, is because of the political will that has made some financial institutions in Nigeria to come together to say, let us be strategic. Through that strategy, tax credit scheme is being introduced. Through that strategy, blue bond is being is being introduced. Through that strategies, other financial models, other technological systems are being introduced in partnership with the government, especially with the Federal Ministry of Water Resources.
Great and good to know that such private sector participation in developing the water resources in Nigeria is beginning to take root. But let me come back again to you, Engineer Eze, and let's talk about one more time about the rains as predicted by NIMET, that it's going to run through in September in northern Nigeria. That's when it will be ending. And in the south, it will be ending sometimes in December, around December 28th and the rest. Does that not show a kind of changing rainfall pattern in Nigeria, basically due to climatology?
Well, the Nigeria Meteorological Agency, in their prediction for 2020, seasonal rainfall prediction, SRP, they said it will be normal, from normal to above normal.
Yeah.
In other words, when I talk about normal, there are records of about 30 years ago, the rainfall pattern get over a period of time, maybe 30, 40 or more years, that the rainfall in most parts could be that normal, as it has been seen over the years. But in some places could be above normal. Well, there's nothing strange out of record from what the prediction this year has said. For instance, that from another part of Nigeria, the rains will begin to see starting from 26th of September. And then in the southmost part of Nigeria, December 28th. That is the prediction. Anything could happen in between. And that is why they're always on the deck to ensure that they are monitoring their prediction to know whether changes in climate could affect their prediction. But so far, it has been working accordingly. To us as a hydrologist, who now use other parameters and then include the rainfall prediction to arrive at flooding, it means to us that we are still to have more of flooding season in Nigeria, because the main period of flooding in Nigeria is usually September, and so much is already happening in terms of destruction in different parts of Nigeria. Lives are being lost and property destroyed when we are not yet in it in terms of magnitude of flooding from Nigeria and even from outside.
Okay, let me take you on this. Dr. Nicholas Igwe has spoken, glowingly about the private sector involvement and how government is trying to change the narrative in the water sector in Nigeria. But I'm sure some investors will be a bit wary when it comes to developing, water resources in rural communities where in most of Nigeria are agrarian people or farmers, peasant farmers and the rest. Do you think it will be economically viable for a private sector driven initiative in rural Nigeria?
Yes, it is. But the challenge always is that some people, when they want to invest, especially the private sector, may want to recoup their investment within a very short period of time.
Because of the bank charges.
Then the banks should come in, government should come in too, to ensure that loans for such facilities are as low as possible. The people in the rural communities, I can speak about what we are doing in the northern part of Nigeria, northwest in particular, under a project we call TRIMIN project, Transforming Irrigation Management in Nigeria project. Is a very massive development to handle the infrastructure available, like the dams, irrigation facilities, to increase the number of hectares, and then to change from pumping or using diesel to gravity. So many things are happening. People are making massive investments, the communities, because they are getting water as and when due.
Round the clock.
Yes, yes. Dangote is there with his tomato factory. There are several others. Off-takers are around who want to buy from the farmers and so on and to go and sell. So it is possible for investors to reap their destiny.
In the rural communities,
if the people can get the water, not like power supply. If you can get it as and when due and serve you properly, people are ready to pay. Even water drink, pipe-borne water.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to our offsite studio, and very quickly, because this program is coming to an end, Dr. Nicholas Igwe, water is the future of Nigeria. Water is the way to go. Very quickly.
Yes, of course. I think more emphasis should be placed on water, and it's happening at the moment. We should understand that even on the SDGs, all the other SDGs, they're all surrounded around the SDG 6.1 and 6.2, which is access to safely managed water and sanitation in our facilities. I think Nigeria should place more emphasis. People should place more emphasis on water, sanitation, and hygiene all over. And maybe if I have a minute, I can also touch on other issues around the rural water schemes. Now, it depends on the structure and the strategy that is put in place. In some areas like Vietnam, where a private sector can invest in urban area on a condition that he can also invest in some rural areas where he knows that the return on his investment is not as much as what is getting in the urban areas. So I think water is the future. Everybody should encourage the private sector. It must be a multi-stakeholder approach. Both the NGOs, development partners, private sector, government agencies should all come together to develop our water infrastructure.
Fantastic. Thanks very much. No better place for you to apply the brakes there. Dr. Nicholas Igwe is the National Coordinator of Organized Private Sector in Water, Sanitation and Hygiene. Thanks for being part of the Arise interview. And Engineer Clement Nze is the Director General, Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Well, that's it for this edition of the Arise interview. To join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye and thanks for watching.